A political firestorm erupted when Caroline Levitt became the focal point of a media frenzy, following a scathing segment by late-night host Stephen Colbert during a live broadcast of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. The comedian, known for his sharp satire and political commentary, targeted Levitt with a series of biting jokes that quickly went viral, dominating social media and cable news headlines for days. What began as Colbert's typical humor-filled segment swiftly escalated into a major talking point, as he dissected Levitt's recent remarks, public appearances, and political affiliations with his signature comedic flair, delivering punchlines that drew roaring laughter from his audience. The laughter didn't stop in the studio. Online platforms erupted with clips of the segment, with many praising it as a brutal takedown and applauding Colbert for his sharp critique of the young GOP figurehead. The backlash was swift. Within hours, Caroline Levitt fired back with a bold and unfiltered response, accusing Colbert and mainstream media of orchestrating a character assassination disguised as comedy. Her reaction sparked a fresh wave of digital debate, with conservative supporters rallying behind her, decrying the segment as evidence of liberal media bias and an attack on conservative women, while liberal voices defended it as a justified and humorous critique of political hypocrisy. This clash between late-night satire and right-wing politics underscores the deepening cultural and ideological divide in American discourse. What some see as mere entertainment, others perceive as political and personal warfare. As both sides entrench themselves, moments like these transcend mere trending topics, becoming emblematic of the broader narrative of political polarization. The Levitt-Colbert saga is more than just a fleeting viral sensation. It reflects the modern media battleground where comedy, commentary, and controversy intersect in real time. Caroline Levitt, a rising star in conservative politics, is known for her unapologetic defense of Republican ideals and her assertive media presence, first capturing national attention during her role as assistant press secretary. Caroline Levitt first rose to prominence in the Trump White House, quickly becoming one of the youngest members of the administration's communications team. Her role positioned her as a staunch advocate for former President Donald Trump and his policies, a stance she carried forward into conservative media and politics. After leaving the White House, Levitt transitioned to political commentary before launching her own congressional bid, making her one of the youngest Republican candidates in recent history. Her campaign heavily embraced Trump-style populism, focusing on America First policies, criticism of mainstream media, and strong border security. She gained a reputation for her fiery debates and viral cable news clips, frequently clashing with liberal hosts and commentators. Among her supporters, Caroline Levitt is hailed as a bold, fearless voice for the next generation of conservatives, while her critics view her as a provocateur who relies on combative rhetoric and media theatrics. On the opposite end of the political and cultural spectrum stands Stephen Colbert, a veteran comedian and television host renowned for his satirical, politically charged commentary. As the host of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert on CBS, he has become one of the most influential liberal voices in late-night television. Colbert first gained fame with The Colbert Report on Comedy Central, where he played a caricature of a conservative pundit. Since transitioning to network television, his real-life progressive views have taken center stage. Particularly during and after the Trump presidency, Colbert's comedic style is defined by wit, sarcasm, and a sharp understanding of political dynamics. He frequently uses his platform to dissect and satirize Republican figures and policies, blending humor with pointed critiques. His monologues often go viral for their incisive commentary, widely shared among liberal audiences who view him as a cultural counterweight to right-wing media. Together, Levitt and Colbert represent two starkly contrasting forces in American media and politics. Levitt embodies the combative, unrestrained energy of modern conservatism, while Colbert personifies the sharp-tongued satire that has become a signature of liberal resistance. The clash between Caroline Levitt and Stephen Colbert is more than just a personal feud. It symbolizes the broader ideological struggle between two political camps vying for influence in the age of viral politics. The incident that sparked this media firestorm began with what seemed like a routine segment on The Late Show, Levitt wasn't a guest, but became the focal point of one of Colbert's signature opening monologues, where he breaks down political headlines with sharp satire and theatrical flair. That evening, Colbert honed in on Levitt's recent televised interview, during which she defended former President Donald Trump amid ongoing legal scrutiny and criticized the Biden administration's approach to the economy and immigration. The segment took place against the backdrop of a turbulent week in national politics, as several Trump allies, including Caroline Levitt, made media appearances to deflect attention from a new indictment linked to the former president's actions following the 2020 election. During an interview on a conservative news program, Levitt passionately argued that the indictments were politically motivated, framing them as part of a broader left-wing conspiracy to silence Trump supporters. This particular appearance caught Stephen Colbert's attention, giving him plenty of material for his segment. With a sly grin and a raised eyebrow, Colbert dove right in, queuing up a clip of Levitt's interview and pausing at key moments to interject, with incredulous expressions and sharp-witted commentary. "Here we have Caroline Levitt," Colbert began, "former White House press assistant, current conservative firecracker, and apparently a contestant in the How Fast Can You Say All the Talking? Points Olympics." The audience erupted in laughter as Colbert mimicked her rapid-fire delivery and dissected her statements with biting satire. One line in particular became an instant viral moment. After Levitt claimed that the Biden administration was weaponizing the Department of Justice against political opponents, Colbert quipped, "Yes, because nothing says weaponized like actually being held accountable for crimes. It's the ultimate liberal tactic. Crime has consequences." The segment gained momentum with each line, drawing louder laughter and applause as Colbert continued to reference Levitt's past with sharp sarcasm. Colbert continued his satirical barrage by referring to Levitt as a graduate of the Kellyanne Conway School of Alternative Facts. Drawing more laughter from the audience, he wrapped up the segment with a mock award presentation, announcing, "And now, presenting the best performance in a fictional reality, Caroline Levitt." Almost instantly, the clip was edited, captioned, and spread across social media platforms. Twitter, now X, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube lit up with uploads of Colbert's takedown, often under dramatic headlines like, "Colbert destroys MAGA mouthpiece, watch Stephen Colbert," "End Caroline Levitt's career in 3 minutes," and "Late-night host obliterates Trump aide on live TV." Within hours, hashtags like Colbert Clapback and Jim Caroline Levitt trended across the US, while memes circulated showing Levitt's frozen expressions alongside Colbert's punchlines. Often shared with exaggerated captions mocking her defense of Trump, the segment was widely praised by liberal-leaning outlets as a necessary call-out of political spin, while conservative voices swiftly condemned its tone, accusing Colbert of punching down. This polarization only fueled its virality, with each side amplifying the moment for contrasting reasons, one celebrating it as sharp satire, the other decrying it as unfair targeting. Media coverage quickly followed, with entertainment and political news outlets publishing recaps under headlines like Stephen Colbert eviscerates Trump's spokeswoman and Caroline Levitt gets the late-night roast treatment. The next morning, talk radio and podcasts dissected the segment, debating whether it was purely comedic or crossed the line into bullying. What made this particular Colbert segment stand out was not just its humor, but the sharp, direct nature of its critique. The segment not only targeted a lesser-known conservative figure, but also catapulted Caroline Levitt into national attention, whether for better or worse. In a media landscape where visibility equates to influence, this single moment on late-night television became a cultural flashpoint, symbolizing the collision of satire, politics, and the power of virality. Levitt wasted no time responding to Stephen Colbert's scathing critique. Just hours after the clip began circulating online, she took to X, formerly Twitter, with a defiant and charged response. Her tone was a blend of outrage and defiance, characteristically combative and aligned with her previous media confrontations. Framing Colbert's jokes not as mere satire, But as part of a broader, deliberate campaign to silence conservative voices, Levitt's initial post quickly gained traction among conservative users. When the liberal elites feel threatened, they send their late-night clowns to smear and mock. "Stephen Colbert doesn't scare me, and he certainly doesn't speak for real Americans," Levitt tweeted defiantly, attaching a clip of her original TV appearance along with the hashtag #FightBack. This marked the start of a full-scale media offensive, with Levitt aiming not just to defend herself, but to turn the narrative in her favor. She followed up on Instagram with a short video message, doubling down on her claims that Colbert's monologue was less about comedy and more about media suppression. "What we saw last night wasn't comedy, it was character assassination masked as entertainment. I'm not surprised. The left can't debate us, so they try to humiliate us," she declared, staring directly into the camera. The caption read with equal conviction, amplifying her stance across platforms. "This is what they do when you speak the truth. But I won't be silenced," Levitt declared. Within 24 hours, she secured a spot on Fox News, where she elaborated on her position. Sitting across from a sympathetic anchor, Levitt condemned Colbert's segment as a calculated hit job, orchestrated by a media machine that, in her view, despises conservative women who dare to speak their minds. She accused Colbert's team of deliberately editing and framing her original statements to make her appear foolish, calling it intellectual dishonesty at its worst. During her response campaign, Levitt focused on three main points. First, she accused Colbert and the mainstream media of blatant liberal bias, arguing that left-leaning entertainment platforms collaborate to undermine conservative values and silence voices like hers. Second, she claimed her character had been misrepresented, alleging that Colbert twisted her words and intentions for comedic effect. Finally, she positioned herself as part of a broader trend, young conservative women being targeted for ridicule, simply because they refused to conform to progressive narratives. Her stance quickly gained traction within conservative circles, with prominent right-wing figures rallying behind her. Former Trump advisor Stephen Miller reposted her tweet, writing, "They fear strong conservative women." Stephen Miller praised Caroline Levitt for speaking with clarity, conviction, and courage, urging her to keep going. Fox News commentator Tommy Lahren shared a video applauding Levitt and criticizing Colbert as just another mouthpiece for the liberal mob. Meanwhile, hosts on Newsmax and OAN ran sympathetic segments portraying Levitt as a fighter standing up to Hollywood hypocrisy. Even GOP politicians weighed in. Senator Josh Hawley tweeted, "This is what happens when you threaten the elite narrative. They mock, they smear, they belittle. Stand strong, Caroline." The surge of conservative support allowed Levitt to turn the backlash to her advantage, using the moment to solidify her image as an unfiltered, media-challenging insurgent. Hashtags like "I stand with Caroline," "Jai media bias," and "Colbert smear" began trending in conservative circles, with some supporters sharing side-by-side clips of Levitt's full original interview, alongside Colbert's edited segment, to highlight claims of misrepresentation. Rather than retreat, Levitt fully embraced the controversy, using the spotlight to elevate her national profile and transform what could have been a humiliating moment into a badge of honor within her ideological community. For Levitt and her supporters, the segment became less about Colbert's jokes and more about a fight for legitimacy in a media landscape they perceive as inherently hostile. What began as a punchline quickly morphed into a political rallying cry, with Levitt determined to seize the moment. Public and political reactions to the clash between Caroline Levitt and Stephen Colbert came swiftly and were sharply divided, with each side interpreting the incident through its own ideological lens. Liberals hailed it as a comedic and rhetorical triumph, while conservatives rallied around Levitt, viewing her as a symbol of defiance against media bias. While conservatives denounced the segment as a deliberate smear, some neutral observers raised questions about the broader impact of entertainment-driven political discourse. On the liberal side, the internet erupted with enthusiasm. Memes flooded social media, often pairing Colbert's sarcastic facial expressions with Levitt's talking points and out-of-context quotes. Parody videos emerged, remixing Colbert's segment, with exaggerated sound effects and mock applause to amplify his rhetorical jabs. The phrase, "she got wrecked," began trending in liberal-leaning circles on X, while late-night fan pages hailed the moment as yet another Colbert masterclass in calling out GOP rhetoric. Popular liberal blogs and outlets like The Daily Beast, HuffPost, and Salon quickly published articles praising Colbert for exposing right-wing spin with sharp satire. With humor and precision, headlines like "Colbert dismantles MAGA mouthpiece," "In viral monologue," and "Watch Stephen Colbert." "Obliterate Trump aide in brutal late-night takedown," flooded algorithmic feeds. Opinion writers praised Colbert for doing what they saw as the media's responsibility, holding political operatives accountable, even if through satire. For many progressives, the moment underscored the power of comedy in cutting through political misinformation. Meanwhile, conservatives saw the segment as yet another example of Hollywood's disdain for anyone who challenges the liberal narrative. Comment sections on right-leaning websites were filled with outrage, with many users labeling Colbert a media puppet and accusing CBS of weaponizing its platform to silence conservative voices. Conservative commentators swiftly took to the airwaves to express their frustration, with some describing the segment as bullying masquerading as comedy. In certain circles, calls to boycott The Late Show began to gain traction, although their impact remained limited. More notably, several GOP voices framed the incident as part of a broader pattern, conservatives, particularly women, being disproportionately mocked and dismissed in pop culture. Levitt was soon added to a growing list of Republican figures like Sarah Palin, Lauren Boebert, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, all frequent targets of late-night satire. While critics argued that the humor was justified, her defenders claimed the attacks were personal, misogynistic, and intended to dehumanize. The most measured reactions, however, came from media analysts who examined the incident through the lens of political bias and entertainment's role in shaping public perception. Political commentators not firmly aligned with either side weighed in questioning whether Colbert's tone had crossed the line from satire into mean-spirited ridicule. While satire has historically been a tool for critiquing power, some argued that targeting a relatively low-profile figure like Levitt on a nationally televised platform with millions of viewers risked appearing as punching down. Others raised broader concerns about the growing overlap between entertainment and political news, asking where the line between commentary and propaganda is drawn when comedians evolve into political influencers. Critics from both sides acknowledged the risks of a media landscape where viral moments are increasingly weaponized for partisan gain. Some called for more thoughtful engagement, warning that while viral takedowns may be entertaining, they often deepen America's already fragile political divide. In the end, the incident was more than just a fleeting media moment. It was a snapshot of the nation's cultural rift. Each side saw exactly what it wanted to see. Colbert's fans celebrated another punchy monologue, while Levitt's supporters pointed to it as yet another example of liberal arrogance. In the space between applause and outrage, the nation's relentless media war continued. The firestorm between Caroline Levitt and Stephen Colbert wasn't merely a clash of personalities, it was a reflection of the increasingly complex relationship between comedy and politics in modern America. American media has evolved far beyond the days when late-night TV was merely a platform for light-hearted laughs and celebrity interviews. Today, it plays a major role in shaping political perceptions, with hosts like Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, and Seth Meyers often serving as unofficial spokespersons for progressive viewpoints. What once functioned purely as satire has transformed into a potent form of political commentary, capable of influencing public opinion and energizing partisan audiences. Stephen Colbert, in particular, has become emblematic of this shift. Though his roots are in satire, his current role often feels more like that of a political commentator wrapped in comedy, using humor night after night to break down the news and shape the narrative. The messaging is clear and consistently aimed at dismantling conservative narratives. Colbert's influence is far from trivial. Millions of viewers tune in not just for laughs, but to consume a digestible, entertaining version of the day's political events, filtered through a liberal perspective. This blending of entertainment and political discourse raises important questions about accountability, fairness, and the true intent behind such programming. Is it purely about humor, or is it also about reinforcing ideological positions? Meanwhile, political figures like Caroline Levitt have adapted to this modern media landscape, seizing every opportunity, especially moments of controversy, to amplify their message. Levitt's response to Colbert's segment was not merely emotional, it was strategic. In today's hyperpolarized climate, becoming the target of mainstream media or late-night satire can be reframed as a badge of honor within conservative circles, strengthening her narrative of defiance against perceived liberal bias. It energizes the base, drives engagement, and boosts name recognition. For many political figures, media clashes are not liabilities, but assets, serving as platforms to solidify their brand and rally supporters. However, this strategy is not without risk. While such appearances and the resulting drama may invigorate core supporters, they can also deepen negative perceptions among moderates or undecided voters. The double-edged nature of media exposure means that every viral moment holds the potential to either elevate or define a public figure, often in ways beyond their control. These dynamics play out within an increasingly polarized media landscape, where liberal-leaning outlets and personalities deliver news through satire and critique, while conservative platforms echo, amplify, and counter those narratives with equal fervor. This creates a feedback loop in which each side reinforces its own beliefs while largely dismissing opposing viewpoints. Incidents like the Colbert-Levitt episode don't happen in isolation. They are reflections of this broader media echo chamber, further intensifying the nation's cultural and political divide. These moments feed directly into the broader culture war, with each side weaponizing them as proof of the other's malice or hypocrisy. Media polarization is further amplified by algorithms that prioritize engagement, causing the most extreme reactions, whether applause or outrage, to rise to the surface. In this environment, thoughtful discourse is often drowned out by the loudest voices, turning politics into performance and performance into politics. Ultimately, the Levitt-Colbert clash is less about who said what and more about what it represents. A snapshot of American media culture where comedy is political. Politics is entertainment, and every viral moment becomes a new battleground in the fight for cultural dominance. Whether this is healthy or harmful remains a topic of debate, but one thing is certain. The line between satire and influence is no longer just blurred. It has been erased. As the dust settles from the viral clash, attention shifts to what lies ahead for both Caroline Levitt and Stephen Colbert. For Levitt, the controversy presents a double-edged opportunity. If she is actively campaigning or considering another run for office, this moment could serve as a rallying point to energize her base. Being publicly targeted by a high-profile liberal comedian like Colbert resonates with many conservative voters, particularly those already skeptical of mainstream media. Levitt may seize this momentum to position herself as a bold truth-teller, unafraid to speak out, despite what she frames as elite attempts to silence her voice. It would not be surprising to see Levitt double down on the moment in future interviews, campaign materials, or fundraising efforts, casting herself as a fearless fighter against media bias. She may also continue to target Colbert directly, positioning him as a symbol of the liberal establishment's hostility toward conservative values. Through more social media posts, op-eds, or Fox News appearances, Levitt could seek to prolong the controversy, using it to further cement her image as a conservative firebrand. As for Colbert, his response is anyone's guess. If he addresses the backlash at all, it will likely be with humor. Perhaps a tongue-in-cheek reference in his next monologue or a self-aware joke that casually brushes off the criticism. After all, Colbert is no stranger to controversy. Historically, Colbert has shown little inclination to apologize or walk back his segments, particularly when he believes his target is fair game. It's far more likely that he will either let the moment fade or use it as fodder to further lampoon what he sees as the conservative outrage machine. In terms of long-term impact, the incident may solidify Levitt's reputation among conservatives as a rising star who knows how to fight back when attacked. Conversely, for more moderate or apolitical observers, the exposure might paint her as a divisive figure caught up in the theatrics of modern political media. Whether this moment becomes a lasting cultural reference or just another viral skirmish in the endless cycle of partisan media battles remains to be seen. Still, it serves as a revealing snapshot of how American political identity is now shaped not only by policy, but by how well one performs under the bright lights of the media spotlight.